The crystal chandelier cast dancing shadows across our family's formal dining room as I pushed my untouched beef Wellington around my plate. Monthly family dinners were always tense, but tonight felt different. The air was thick with unspoken words, and my parents kept exchanging meaningful glances. "Emma," my mother finally said, setting down her wine glass with deliberate precision, "your father and I have been discussing your situation." I looked up, meeting her perfectly made-up face. At 28, I was the family disappointment, the only one of the 3 Anderson children who hadn't followed the prescribed path of law school and joining the family's prestigious law firm. My situation? I kept my voice neutral, though my heart started racing. My older sister Victoria smirked from across the table. At 32, she was already a junior partner at Anderson & Associates, following perfectly in our father's footsteps. Next to her, my younger brother Michael, 26, was quickly climbing the firm's ranks. "Yes," Dad cleared his throat. "Your persistent refusal to join the firm, this foolish startup venture of yours. It's gone on long enough." I gripped my fork tighter. My foolish venture was a tech company I'd built from scratch 3 years ago, developing AI-driven legal research software. I'd tried explaining to them how it could revolutionize legal research, but they dismissed it as a waste of time. "We're cutting you off completely," Mom announced as if commenting on the weather. "No more trust fund access, no more living in the family apartment, no more credit cards. It's time you grew up and accepted your responsibilities." The room fell silent. Victoria's smirk grew wider. Michael suddenly became very interested in his green beans. "I haven't touched the trust fund in 2 years, I said quietly. "Don't be ridiculous," Mom scoffed. "How else could you be supporting yourself with this little computer project of yours?" Before I could respond, Victoria chimed in. "I heard your company's barely breaking even, Emma. Patricia from Morgan Stanley told me all about it." I had to bite back a laugh. Patricia from Morgan Stanley had no idea about my company's financials. We'd stayed private deliberately, flying under the radar while we perfected our technology. "Actually," I started, but Dad cut me off. "Enough excuses. You have 2 choices. Join the firm as a first-year associate or face being cut off completely. We've already had the trust fund papers drawn up." "I'm not joining the firm," I said firmly. "Then you leave us no choice," Mom sighed dramatically. "We're doing this for your own good. You can't keep playing entrepreneur forever." Just then my phone rang. I usually silenced it during family dinners, one of Mom's strict rules, but tonight I'd left it on purposely. The caller ID showed my assistant's name. "Excuse me," I said, standing up. "I need to take this." "Emma." Mom's voice rose sharply. "We are having a family discussion." I answered anyway, putting it on speaker. "Yes, Sophia?" "Ms. Anderson." My assistant's professional voice filled the dining room. "I apologize for interrupting your dinner, but you asked to be notified immediately. Our stock just hit $90 million in the private trading round. Morgan Stanley is requesting an urgent meeting about taking us public." The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria's fork clattered against her plate. Michael choked on his wine. Mom's perfectly composed face froze in shock. "Thank you, Sophia," I said calmly. "Schedule the meeting for tomorrow morning." I hung up and looked around the table, taking in their stunned expressions. The chandelier light suddenly felt brighter, illuminating their confusion and disbelief. "You were saying something about cutting me off?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. Dad's face had turned an interesting shade of red. "But how?" I pulled out my chair and sat back down, finally taking a bite of my dinner. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you're not trying to live up to someone else's expectations. The Wellington was cold, but victory had never tasted sweeter. $90 million? Victoria whispered, her smirk completely gone. "Actually," I corrected her, "that's just the current stock price. The company's total valuation is significantly higher." Mom reached for her wine glass with a slightly trembling hand. "But Patricia from Morgan Stanley said." "Patricia from Morgan Stanley," I interrupted, "doesn't know anything about my company because we've kept everything private. Until now." The family dinner that was supposed to put me in my place had turned into something entirely different. As I sat there watching my family's carefully constructed narrative about me crumble, I couldn't help but think about how we'd gotten here. They had never believed in me, never supported my vision. They dismissed my company as a hobby, my ambitions as a phase. Now, sitting at the same table where they'd lectured me countless times about responsibility and family legacy, I was about to show them exactly what their disappointing daughter had built. And this was just the beginning. The next morning, I walked into Morgan Stanley's Manhattan office wearing my favorite power suit. The contrast between last night's family dinner and today's meeting couldn't have been starker. Here I wasn't the disappointing daughter. I was the CEO of Legal Tech AI, the company that was revolutionizing the legal industry. Ms. Anderson, Patricia herself greeted me at the elevator, the same Patricia who'd apparently been spreading rumors about my company's failure. I had no idea you were the founder of Legal Tech. Why didn't you ever mention it at the club? I smiled politely. I prefer to let my work speak for itself. The conference room was packed with investment bankers and analysts, all eager to discuss taking Legal Tech public. As I sat at the head of the table, my phone buzzed with text from my family. Mom, we need to talk about last night. Victoria, Dad's furious. Fix this. Michael, holy shit sis. Why didn't you tell us? I silenced my phone as the meeting began. My CFO David started presenting our financials, 3 years of steady growth, 0 debt, and a client list that included 8 of the top 10 law firms in the country. Except Anderson and Associates, one analyst noted, looking up from his papers. Any particular reason your family's firm isn't using your software? The room went quiet. Everyone in Manhattan's legal circle knew the Andersons. Anderson and Associates prefers traditional methods, I said diplomatically. But we respect their choice to stay traditional. A few people smirked. Everyone knew what traditional meant: outdated, resistant to change, stuck in the past. After the meeting, Patricia cornered me by the elevators. Emma, your mother must be so proud. She never mentioned. Actually, I cut her off. My family just found out last night. But feel free to discuss it at your next tennis match with my mother. Back at my office, my assistant Sophia was managing the fallout from last night's revelation. Your father's called 6 times, she reported. Your sister's in the lobby demanding to see you, and your brother's been sending LinkedIn requests to everyone on our executive team. I took off my heels and settled behind my desk. Send Victoria up. Might as well face this now. Minutes later, my sister burst into my office, looking less polished than usual. What is wrong with you? She demanded. Do you have any idea what you've done? Built a successful company? Created revolutionary software? Made millions without riding Dad's coattails. Don't be cute, she snapped. Dad's reputation is at stake. How do you think it looks that his own daughter's legal tech company is being used by every major firm except ours? I leaned back in my chair. Probably the same way it looked when you all dismissed my little computer project for 3 years. We were trying to protect you. Victoria ran her hands through her perfectly styled hair. The legal world is all about tradition, connections. The legal world is changing, I interrupted. That's what none of you understand. While you're all clinging to leather-bound books and manual research, the rest of the industry is evolving. Dad wants you to sell, she blurted out. He's willing to forgive everything if you sell legal tech and come back to the firm. He'll even make you partner in 2 years. I laughed out loud. Partner? Victoria, I'm about to take my company public. I'll be worth more than Anderson and Associates by the end of this year. The color drained from her face. What? You heard me. And here's something else you should know: Townsend and Myers, your biggest competitor? They just signed a contract with us yesterday. Their research efficiency has already improved by 60%. Victoria sank into one of my office chairs. This will kill Dad. No, I said firmly. This will wake him up. The world is changing, Victoria. Dad can either adapt or watch his firm become obsolete. As Victoria left my office, looking shaken, I turned to look out at the city skyline. The family dinner that was supposed to cut me off had instead revealed just how far I'd risen. But something told me this was just the beginning of the storm. My phone buzzed again, another text from Mom. We're having an emergency family meeting tonight. Your attendance is mandatory. I smiled, typing back, sorry, can't make it. Have a board meeting about our IPO. Feel free to read about it in tomorrow's Wall Street Journal. Then I turned back to my computer. I had an empire to run. The Wall Street Journal article dropped at 6 a.m. the next morning. Legal Tech AI, the billion-dollar startup revolutionizing legal research. How Emma Anderson built an empire while her family's law firm wasn't looking. I read it in my penthouse apartment, the one I'd bought myself, not the family property they'd threatened to take away. The article was comprehensive, detailing how I'd spotted a gap in the market that traditional firms like Anderson and Associates had ignored. My phone started ringing at 6:05 a.m. I let it go to voicemail, instead opening my laptop to read the flood of emails coming in. Law firms around the country were desperate to schedule demos, investors were clamoring for meetings, and tech blogs were already hailing legal tech as the future of legal research. Ms. Anderson, Sophia called through my private line. Your mother's in the lobby. She's refusing to leave without seeing you. I sighed. Send her up. Mom appeared at my door minutes later, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. Her eyes widened as she took in my apartment, the floor-to-ceiling windows, the modern art, the view of Central Park. You live here? She asked, her voice small. For the past year, I replied. Would you like some coffee? She nodded, sinking into my designer sofa. I poured her a cup from my expensive coffee machine, another luxury I'd bought with my own money. The article, she started, then stopped. Your father, he's not well. Because his firm is now publicly known to be behind the times? I asked, sitting across from her. Because his daughter blindsided him, she snapped, then caught herself. Emma, why didn't you tell us? I tried, Mom. For 3 years I tried to tell you about what I was building. You and Dad were too busy pushing me to join the firm, too convinced I was wasting my time. But $1 billion, she whispered. The article says you're going to be one of the youngest female tech billionaires in the country. Funny how success changes people's perception of waste, isn't it? Just then my phone buzzed with a text from David. Townsend and Myers just announced they're moving all operations to legal tech systems. Stocks up another 30%. Mom's phone rang moments later. Probably Dad hearing the news that his biggest competitor was now using his daughter's software. He'll never forgive you, she said quietly. No, I corrected her. He'll never forgive himself. There's a difference. After Mom left, I headed to the office. The atmosphere was electric. News of the Wall Street Journal article had everyone buzzing. As I walked through the open workspace, my employees stood and started applauding. Speech, someone called out. I smiled, looking around at the faces of people who had believed in my vision when my own family hadn't. 3 years ago, I began, everyone said legal tech couldn't work. That law firms wouldn't change, that tradition was too strong. But we proved them wrong. And this is just the beginning. More applause. Then Sophia rushed over with an urgent message. Anderson and Associates was calling an emergency press conference. I watched it live from my office. Dad stood at the podium looking older than I'd ever seen him. Victoria and Michael flanked him, both trying to maintain their usual confident expressions. Anderson and Associates is proud to announce a complete digital transformation, Dad read stiffly. We will be partnering with leading legal tech companies to modernize our operations. I turned off the stream. They still didn't get it. There was only one leading legal tech company and I owned it.